Right, so by now I'm sure you all know about the DBV, which by the way is an absolute mouthful. The DBV-152 being in World of Tanks and the assembly shop and all that stuff. If you don't know about that by now, that's too bad because I'm not explaining it to you. Well, kinda. I mean, I don't want to explain it to you at all, but I guess I kinda have to. Just for video continuity purposes and such. So anyway, I've been saving up a crap ton of resources for exactly an event like this, and this time around I decided, you know what, this DBV might actually be a more interesting vehicle, or at least borderline interesting enough that I might be able to spend a stupid amount of my resources on the thing. Oh, and by the way, under no circumstances am I going to be doing the math to figure out how much all these resources are actually worth, because I would probably cry a little bit. The only thing that might make me not cry so much is the fact that I actually haven't spent any money in this game in a very long time. This is also helped by the fact that the gold I've been hanging on to for several years now was actually used to convert experience at 100-to-1 ratios a few weeks ago, which is absolutely insane. I've never seen that before. Anyway, here's my story as to how I came across this DBV. I mean, obviously the assembly shop, but, you know, hang on to your hats. That doesn't even make sense. Hang on to whatever you want, because I'm going to tell you a quick story. So a couple nights before the assembly shop became open, there was a calculator you could use on the World of Tanks website to kind of get an idea of how many resources of each type you wanted to use to buy this DBV. So, of course, being the clearly intellectual person that I am, I went on and used this calculator and figured out I'm going to use X amount of free experience, credits, universal fragments, national fragments, bonds, whatever. So that way I would be prepared and could get the lowest number possible when I finally got the chance to actually spend all these resources. So after a few days of debating internally with myself if it was actually worth all these resources for this vehicle, I decided it would be a great idea to schedule a text message to be sent to myself 10 minutes before the assembly shop went live, so that I could be there right on the dot at 8 p.m. my time when it started. So that's exactly what I did. And that's a great idea. It worked very well, except for the fact that I have 2 kids. So why is that a problem? Well, hold on. So as planned, I received the text message I sent to myself at 10 minutes to 8. No problem, right? Oh, but that's fine. I'm just finishing cleaning up. I'll just do the dishes here, and I'll be down here at my computer at a different floor of my house at 5 minutes to. Not a problem. So 5 minutes to comes along. I'm just about to head down to the other floor, and sure enough, one of the kids needs a drink of water. Okay, fine. I'll get you that water. That means I only have 4 minutes now, right? Fine. So I get downstairs, turn the computer on, it boots up, now I have 3 minutes. Okay, great. I go to launch the World of Tank client. What is it? Oh, it's an update, a freaking micro update that has to install. Oh boy, now it's a time crunch, but luckily I have World of Tanks saved on M.2, and it's just a small update, so it goes pretty quickly, but I'm here at this point watching the time. It is a solid 7:58, almost 7:59. This whole time I have hopes and dreams of getting a really low number, like, oh, maybe if I'm quick enough I can get number 1. Now, honestly, I expect that I'm not going to be able to get the very first tank. I know this is fact. But some part of me just has high hopes for that at least I'll get a very low number. Maybe a single, maybe a 2-digit number. The chances are there. So as World of Tanks loads up, the slowest it seems to have ever possibly done that before, I watch the time tick to 7:59. Now, it's at this point that I realize I am not nearly as prepared for this as I thought I was. The last time I bought an assembly shop vehicle was the Lion, and I think that was a couple years ago, and I think things have changed with how they do it a little bit, but maybe not. I don't even remember. So I just start rummaging through the store tab in the client, and I don't see any mention of this DVB, so I guess I'll just sit here and wait and see if something pops up for it. Sure enough, 30 seconds later, a little notification pops up in the bottom right corner of my garage saying, hey, the assembly shop, blah, 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 blah.
I don't say blah, blah, blah.
So I click on this thing and very hurriedly start entering in all the different resources that I want to spend on this. On the first page, I enter my bonds, my credits, and my free experience that I want to use. And then I go to the second page and start entering in the number of fragments that I want to use. And this is where the problems start. Initially, when I planned this a couple days before, I was going to spend a grand total of 750 national fragments. That was going to be, say, for example, 150 from USA, 100 from Russia, 100 from UK, and all that kind of stuff. And there's a few nations that I didn't want to spend any because I didn't have that many to go around. Well, what the online calculator didn't tell me is that I can only spend 64 in each nation. That means that in total, I can only spend 704 of the 750 I initially wanted to use. So that's not a problem. I just go back real quick and I throw in some more other resources of whatever kind I feel like in a hurry, still thinking I can get that low number, right? Well, that eats up valuable time and just kind of throws me for a loop. So in the end, between clicking that notification to go to the assembly shop and actually getting the vehicle, 1 minute and 8 seconds has passed, which, looking back at it, that's actually quite a long time. But surely that's, I might get a number in the 200s or something, right? Wrong. Instead, I get a very not so respectable number, 5,309. I mean, at least it's good enough to still get that special style. I don't know how much that really means, but I guess. Because here in the North American server, the first 7,500 get that, then they have an additional 7,500 units they're selling after that, without the special 3D style. And of course, after this is all done, as hurriedly as I entered in all of the different resources I wanted to use, I figured out the crew and crew skills and what equipment I was going to use, and by hurriedly, I mean that took another 20 minutes. You know what I've learned so far from this assembly shop thing? That I really suck at not playing this game. And on that note, let's watch somebody else's replay. The player we're going to be watching playing this battle today goes by the name of GodPack. That's right, we are in the presence of a literal god. And GodPack here, well, he kind of lives up to his name. First off, he got vehicle number 1,649 on the European server, where they gave away a heck of a lot more vehicles than they did here in the North American server. Clearly, he didn't dilly-dally for more than a minute more than he absolutely needed to, typing in what resources he needed, blah, 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 blah. Plus, I've also heard that on the European server, there was some serious issues, technical issues on Wargaming's side that was not allowing players to buy these vehicles for whatever reason, sometimes. So, godlike just in the sense that he managed to get through that BS. Anyway, I heard about a lot of players being upset about that, very understandably. And what's this? The back of a 279E? That's a dangerous tank to take a chunk out of, but never mind, we'll go for the Manticore instead. That is, in its own rights, a very dangerous tank as well. You can get rid of that Manticore, especially on certain maps. You can blind the enemy team, and that makes a huge difference. However, I've definitely found in the only half dozen or so battles, oh my gosh, that I've played in this thing so far, that it is definitely an arty magnet, as well as an everybody else shoot at this thing magnet. I think partly because it's got a dangerous gun, if you want to get out of the game, and also it's just a really soft target. It doesn't really have much armor to speak of. Like, why wouldn't you shoot at it when you have a guaranteed penetration compared to the heavily armored tank destroyer or heavy tank sitting beside you? But this has been a very disappointing start, as he's already lost 3/4 of his hit points. That's going to make him very vulnerable for the rest of the match, and potentially a one-shot kill for a lot of the vehicles on the enemy team. But going back to why GodPack is worthy of his title as a god in this game, well, looking at his stats, he has about twice as many battles played in this game as I do, at almost 60,000 for himself. He has twice the WN8 as I do, and he has about 10% higher win ratio in the game than I do, which is just absolutely incredible. Good for you. Maybe he's a reroll, but if he is, he's been around for a long time doing the reroll thing. So he is definitely worthy of this DBV-152, and he is going to show you exactly why. GodPack is now going to take whatever opportunity he can to pick apart this very dangerous Object 279E, who has seemingly got himself stuck in a very bad spot, which is unfortunate for him because that's a rather overpowered tank. And if he played his cards right, he could probably, carry the game fairly good. But yeah, sitting in the open, getting shot from every side is definitely not the way to go. Can GodPack finish him off here? No, he misses the shot. That's very unfortunate. But nevertheless, his team finishes him off, leaving them at momentarily, a early lead in the vehicle's remaining category. GodPack is trying to see if he can get any shots on any other vehicles, such as that Manticore that may appear on the backside of the hill there, but it's just not meant to be, and he's not going to dilly-dally. He's not going to wait around and wait for the enemy team to play into his hands. Instead, he is going to go hunting, but obviously he is aware that he does not have the hit points to spare, and that even if he did have the hit points to spare, his vehicle has essentially no armor when facing vehicles such as basically everything on the enemy team. Honestly, this is not a tank that you should expect to have any kind of shots bounce off of it, and if they do, it's probably because it hit the gun barrel or a really crazy high angle. This thing can't even side scrape against most vehicles. So honestly, just if you have the chance, shoot at it. I imagine that vehicles like this are probably extremely tasty to something like those new Czechoslovakian auto cannon light tanks. Look at that, putting a shot into the side of a vehicle there, managed to find just the right little lane down the middle of all the buildings there, and putting in a good 813 damage shot, which is very satisfying. In my short time playing this thing so far, I haven't had a lot of time to do so. I've had a lot of lower rolls, and by lower rolls I mean like 700 and something damage, and that makes it a bit disappointing. And look at that shot right there, right into the side of the Super Conqueror's turret. The Super Conqueror is moving, albeit not that fast, and only the turret was visible at just about 500 meters. That's a little bit of luck there. I think that actually managed to hit, but very well aimed as well by Godpack. I cannot take that away from him whatsoever. Now Godpack is kind of forced here to kind of bide his time, wait for the enemy to make a mistake, wait for his allies to kind of push them out if need be, and just obviously preserve his hit points. Now he's going to make sure that he is behind this bush the whole time, even though that T-22 medium is far enough away that he should not be able to spot him. It shouldn't be possible. But just in case something else does poke around that corner too, he is prepared, or if the T-22 does push up. And maybe at the time he wasn't quite paying attention to the distance that T-22 was away, but it absolutely makes sense. Now, is that T-22 going to be dumb enough to poke out a second time? Looks like maybe not for the moment. If he did, that would be probably the end of his game and a free trip back to the garage. So for most players, including myself, you'd have to assume, okay, that means a little bit more waiting around for Godpack, nothing much is happening, just kind of sit on that flank and wait for something to turn up to shoot at. Well, no, Godpack is already thinking ahead, and this is one of the things that makes him a better player. He's already thinking, okay, I need to move up to the north here, there is enemy vehicles over there. He is paying attention to that mini-map and getting himself in position, and for his attention, he is being rewarded with a nice, juicy 813 damage shot into the enemy DBV. But he did get himself spotted, and that means that the enemy is now also going to get a nice juicy shot in him. And just in case he wasn't a one-shot kill for enough of the enemy vehicles before, well, now he definitely is for all of them, sitting on just a few hit points. But if you think this farther lack of hit points is going to deter Godpack here, you are mistaken. In fact, he's going to start out with a blind shot at the grill, which unfortunately does miss. But now he has to try even harder, and he is going to absolutely deliver. Of course, he can't do too much more unless his team allows it, and the position that the enemy vehicles allow, but it looks like he has spotted a potential next victim. It's his twin over there on the enemy team in red, and puts a shot in and lights him on fire. He takes a lot of damage there before going unspotted. Now we wait. Is it a kill by fire, or did he have an extinguisher? No. The enemy DBV did not have a fire extinguisher. That is extremely satisfying. Can he get a second kill in 2 shots? He does. Picks up a second kill on that grill, and just like that, he has picked up 2 kills in just about 20 seconds. Very nicely done, of course. Now, does his KPZ know the Godpack is over here? It doesn't seem like it, given that he's pointed his entire side of his tank out to him, and is now ready to take that massive shot for another 822 damage done to Godpack's name. Godpack kind of drives away there, worried he was spotted for a second there, but don't worry, Godpack. You are just barely far enough away that basically nothing can spot you. So obviously Godpack is not sitting back and doing nothing, so where is he going to do next? Oh, he sees an enemy 4005 over there. That's a vehicle that has even less armor than Godpack does in his DBV, and now it has been removed from the battle. For those of you who managed to get your hands on the DBV-152, I'm curious to know how you're enjoying it so far. I've heard generally good things about it here and there, and I think that it is a decent vehicle, but I need to change how I'm playing it personally. I started out trying to play it like a lightly armored heavy tank, kind of supporting the enemy or the allied heavy tanks that are around me, and that hasn't been really working out for me. I've only been getting a few shots in. I've been finding enemy vehicles are poking around the corner extra far and taking an extra hit sometimes if it means being able to shoot me. I guess they just see my vehicle as a threat. And also I've been encountering a lot of them in some of my battles recently, including a lot of enemy 4005s. I'm guessing those enemy 4005s are thinking, hey, look, there's a bunch of these lightly armored vehicles around. I'm going to jump into this vehicle that does massive amounts of damage and has more than a penetration with those HESH rounds to penetrate, and just go crazy. And I think that's working, because in one of my last battles in the thing, I saw a 4005 penetrate 2 different DBVs for like 1800 damage each. So very, very satisfying for that 4005 driver. That shot there that our friend here, Godpack, made at that enemy DBV there, I think that was a little bit desperate. He didn't quite see that silhouette, but just hoped that he'd have just that little bit of a slim shot over there. It just didn't quite work out. It was very understandable. He knew that was the best shot he was going to get, so why not take it? Why not hope that maybe by the time that shell gets there, that silhouette would perhaps be just in the right place to get yourself another kill. We'll take another blind shot there too, because why not? There's not a whole lot of a threat out here. Might as well fire that shot. Doesn't matter if you're reloading. And, you know, maybe if you're lucky, that Manticore, that T-62A would have been sitting in that bush. Would not be the first time. Now, here comes an E100. Godpack is rushing in. He wants to try to be the hero here. Can he get in position in time? There's a Manticore that's been spotted out in the field as well. The enemy Manticore is dead, and here comes the enemy E100. Now, of course, Godpack needs to be careful he doesn't take a shot from the E100, so he's going to get out of there after putting that shot himself into the E100, and the E100 would probably like to hunt him down. Luckily, this DBV is quite speedy, and it shouldn't be a problem for him to get away in time, especially now that E100 is distracted by the what is now dead friendly Bad Chat 25T. Unfortunately, this kind of makes it a 2v2 for a second, a very low hit point 2v2 for Godpack's team versus these enemy vehicles. But just with another shot there goes another 879 hit points on that E100, and the lucky bounce on the DBV with no armor, that's incredible. I'd be curious to know if that hit the gun, but there's no time for that right now because the E100 is coming around the corner. Oddpack did his best to hide behind that allied ST2, and it seemed like it worked. The ST2 was sacrificed, but Oddpack survives. And of course now he needs to use his speed to get out of here before that T-62A appears behind him and gets a shot at him before he's able to reload. He's going to poke around the corner here, see if that T-62A is pursuing. I imagine he would be. There he is. No time to aim, but he did need to aim. And looks like there's only 5 seconds left in this battle before it's a draw. So unfortunately, Godpack is going to have to settle with his 5 kills and his 11,500 damage he's done after including in that fire and the therefore blind fire kill on that BVZ earlier in the game. Something I noticed I thought was very interesting, even though Godpack managed to do 11,500 damage, he still only got Mastery Badge First Class. He still did not get his Ace Tanker, so clearly people out there are having pretty monstrous games. Now, he really didn't do a whole lot of damage with his assistance, which plays a big part into it, but still, I found that quite interesting and actually a little bit surprising. Also noteworthy about Godpack doing 11,500 damage is that he did 3 times more damage than the second most damage done by a player on his team. That's pretty crazy. And even though this vehicle doesn't get you a premium profit, he still managed to make 100,000 credit profit on a draw, which counts as a loss. Now, that was helped as well by him getting the For Courageous Resistance bonus, but that's only 6,300 credits. And he did complete a mission as well, but that's still only 40,000 credits. So really, he made like 50,000 credits profit in this thing, in a vehicle that does not earn premium credits. That's pretty cool too. If you're keen-eyed, you may have noticed at the beginning of the battle that he brought absolutely no premium ammunition with him as well, which obviously helps the pocketbook. Anyways guys, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. DBV-152 DBU. I choose you, Pikachu!